Watching it, that guy had like a second to think about all of that and do it, you know, because thinking about it is a thing, doing it is something else.
Yeah,
right,
he obviously has. Yes, thank you. He obviously shots fired back. He actually has two brains.
Yeah, no, he really does.
He must do. Check him, someone. That's got to be illegal, right?
And you know, I want everyone to remember what we were saying about FY last year. It was F God, right? He was amazing with his plays.
Yep.
You know?
I remember Bruno on this very desk saying, you know, he's my favourite support. He's the best player in the world right now. And here he is again showing us why.
Speaking of Bruno as well, he mentioned that this hurt him a little bit as the no-leg strat from C9 did not end up winning. Sadly, not this TI.
Very relevant point we haven't made.
Yeah.
So the no legs, it is a thing. But you know, when as a support player, when a support having an impact as a support is something, but carrying a whole game as a support, like single-handedly, at least some fights, it's something else. And even the net worth, he was like the four highest net worth.
Yeah.
How do you get there?
Mir Rubik with Octarine Core. When you have all those items and you're like, okay, my 2-second cooldown on ulti, it's actually too long. I'm going to get an Octarine as well. You're just in luxury land at that point. So Rubik just having the time of his life.
So let's talk about C9 a little bit in terms of the way that they look pretty devastated when they come out of those booths. And they've now got to go away, quieten down, calm down again, and then come back in Shiva. What are they going to be talking about?
I think they have to kind of almost forget about this game and look ahead. What are they going to do different? Because this game, at some point in the game, it's not about how you did your draft. It's not about how you did your early game. It comes only down to decision making, and you can't really practice that or out theory craft that because it just all comes down to split-second decisions. When are you going to take a fight? How is your positioning going to be? And you can't do anything about that before the game actually starts. So I'm thinking they're going to look at this as a new game, and as Waga said earlier, that he liked that Cloud9 stuck to their guns with this draft. I'm hoping that they're also going to try to stick with their guns because the early game went really well. And if they just can get that decision-making better late game, I think they're going to be having, I think that we're going to be having a third game on our hands.
All right. Well, Hal's reaction was almost like he'd won the tournament, and that was first game.
Mm-hmm. I thought they were down and out after they lost the first Rex, and they were in the whole 20,000 goldish. I think looking forward to next series, Cloud9, they really have to consider their item selection. The Satanic, I mean, you're not going to lifesteal versus an AA. I also think maybe like a Lincoln's to block the Laguna because he just dropped every time to that. Maybe a Pipe versus the AA Scepter would have been pretty good. But overall, I think first ban, you probably just ban the Rubik so you don't get traumatized again, FY.
No, definitely. The reasoning behind the Satanic was that, you know, the only way to fight the Spectre with the Rages and the Dispersion is that it's lifesteal, else you're just going to die from killing him or her. But obviously, that's why AA Spectre is such a good combo. It's because you want lifesteal, but you can't have it because of the AA, so it's very scary to play against.
Yeah, and credit to VT Gaming, who stuck together in such a good way and did not bleed any kills when they were so far behind. And then they even managed to find some pickoffs, so they did really good there.
It takes a lot of discipline, doesn't it, to do that in the game and not let it get away from you.
That's a real comeback win for a team like this because it was a team effort. And it's going to like bring the team together for the next games. You know, it's not a player with flashy plays that actually helped you win the game and somehow you made it to the next round. It's more solid than that.
And perhaps it also helped that maybe Cloud9 made some mistakes that they could actually capitalize on as well, because obviously at some point Envy was inside the Radiant jungle farming while Misery was warding, and they both got cut out, they both died. But at that point, Spectre's ultimate was off cooldown, so they should have known this. The
thing with Dota is that often the big plays, they start with a little mistake from someone, and when FY gets the egg, usually when you play Phoenix, you can always, you know, use the Fire Spirits before anyone tries anything, and the cast, you know, the cast animation for the seal spell is usually too long, but he just forgot to do it 1-7, and FY instantly punished him, and really hardly.
Yeah. And I mean, Dota is a crazy game, and the nerves are definitely playing a lot here. These teams are playing for high stakes, and we saw mistakes from both teams. We even saw How jumping to 3 enemies there alone because he double tapped his Haunt, which the casters also were like, yeah, that can't be intentional. That happens. That is Dota. There are so many things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about this because we shouldn't forget where we are right now. We're in the lower bracket, which means Cloud9 right now are 1 game away from being eliminated, and I don't think any of us thought we would be talking about that on day 2.
I think Cloud9 for a lot of people were one of the teams that would make it at least top 6, top 5, top 4 even.
Yeah.
So that they're here is definitely a surprise. I I mean, they had some really good games. The downside is all their games run really long. And I think if you lose a couple of these late game games, as they just did, that's gonna have an impact on your mentality. That's gonna maybe get some trust issues. You might not be able to trust yourself anymore in that game, and I think that's the bigger picture for them here to work at.
And confidence-wise, Ben, they've got to forget that now, surely, because confidence is going to be pretty dented after what happened yesterday and then what's happened today.
Yeah,
they've kind of got to forget about that. And I know for a fact that, you know, Notail said before this tournament started, very privately, they felt very confident about this, of going all the way, actually. And I don't know if that was realistic or just bravado or whatever it was, but he was confident. That's got to have disappeared now.
I mean, losing 3 times in a row, I think, with the Wisp Gyro. I think it's 3 times in a row, at least with Wisp. But, I mean, that's what has gotten them so far. Like, Bone7 with his, like, different drafts that are, like, Eternal Envies, like, unorthodox builds and approaches. I think that's really what makes Cloud9 unique. And, you know, if they play just like every other team, they may not have the execution to be as good as other teams. And, you know, I really like their style. I really like their picks. I really like the way they approach the game. It's just their late game decision making. I think that's a little bit suspect. Their drafting, I think, is purely great. And
let's turn it around on its head a little bit more and be a bit more positive for them. They could still win this game. That's one of their strengths, isn't it? The fact that they can actually come back from this 1-0 down because they've got those things in their arsenal.
They can, but they might have to mix it up. Even though we like to say stick to their guns and so on, they are drafting a lot of Wisp and Bane, and it seems some of the teams might have them figured out, because the PL pick, the Spectre pick, these Illusion heroes are really tough to deal with when your supports really bring nothing against them.
But do they make that change now? So late?
I mean,
or is it
that's
just
very tough to say. After that first game, yeah. This might be your last chance to make that change.
Exactly. You played 3 games with Wisp, you lost 3 games. I mean, on the main stage, it's now or never, and the decision is really tough to make, honestly.
Yeah. And if they want to pick something else instead of Bane for Misery, I mean, Misery is a very versatile player. He can play basically anything. He's been in almost every role during his career. He has played 11 heroes during the group stages alone out of the 14 games. So they have definitely got some flexibility there.
Yeah, definitely. And Vici, from their point of view, what do you think from them now? I mean, they're riding on a crest of a wave. They're happy. They won yesterday in the lower bracket, and that could have been a tricky game for them as well. And now they've won another one. Surely their confidence is going to be overflowing. There's a temptation for them that they've got to kind of curb that a little bit and not be too cocky.
I mean, they came in with a pocket strat, as we said, and it worked really well for them. So they have to be super confident now, but I'm also sure that they have talked about what they do if it works or if it doesn't work. So we'll see where they go from now, but they're definitely confident.
Are you expecting maybe a second prepared one?
I think they will play standard now. I honestly don't think... You don't really go into a match like, okay, let's prepare 3 different strategies. Yeah. You just want to have one thing that you think is going to work and then play your standard game maybe after that.
Okay.
I want to see the Fada Beastmaster. You know, he's 100% winner with it, and I don't want to see him disqualified or Cloud9 disqualified without using that.
Okay.
I agree.
We are going to head into the draft for Game 2.
Cloud9 versus Vici Gaming. Game 2.
I'm actually completely with you on that, Matt, that the Cloud9 Beastmaster, they have utilized it so well. All the 3 games they played with it, they crushed. It was not even that they won. They dominated those games. So maybe if they want to get it here, they will have to pick it in the first 2.
I remember when we were actually playing against them as a team, it was back in Starlighter. They were first picking. Every team would first ban Beastmasters. Yeah. No one's doing it. And the hero has not changed. You know, the meta changed a bit, but the hero is the same.
Possibly even stronger now.
Yeah, possibly even stronger. Yeah. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it.
Glimmer Cape.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, Necrobook, man, like he doesn't care.
I just hope they just go for what they're good at. But I mean, it's a tough decision to make because now or never. You might also leave with the regret that you stick to something that was not working.
I think they're just drafting the way they are because they're like, okay, we're not going to get the Gyro in the second phase, we're not going to get the Wisp in the second phase, but we might get the Beastmaster there. But teams are figuring out that we can play against Wisp. We know sort of what works, but Beastmaster, they really don't want to play against that. So every team that plays against C9 here seem to just ban it in the second phase. But I'm curious to see. This drafting phase is going to tell a lot going into a second game.
Yeah, Cloud9 already unsure about what to ban out last year. I mean, Undying is still in the pool. We saw that ban out in the first 2 previous game. And it turns out to be Lina, Super's Lina, even though at the start of the game previously might not have had a big of an impact as it had, well, as I thought it would have.
Yeah, it still played a very key role though. It's just that confidence, having Aghanims on Lina being able to burst even BKB heroes, it's very relaxing for you in a team.
EM and Wisp. That's what I would like to see from Cloud9. And I know the Wisp has not won a single game yet, but I mean, it could still work really well for them. They also stick to the Wisp gyro for the biggest part, and maybe that was the real issue.
Yeah, I still think that the Wisp can work, but it's as you say, you need to have the vision on the enemy team so that you can get the pickoffs and control the map.
And they're gonna do something completely different.
They will go for Undying. Well, it is aggressive though, it's gonna take the fight to the enemy.
We've seen them run a lot of Pugna with Undying, and they also first picked the two of them, especially since Bone 7 started drafting for them.
Yeah. Being able to decrypify the Tombstone is a huge thing that has not been utilized that much in different tournaments. And it's a rather recent change as well, so there hasn't been many chances to abuse it. But it's super strong.
No, it really is, and fighting into Undying is already very, very hard, obviously, and fighting into Undying plus the Pugna ward, it's just a nightmare. You don't want to deal with that.
I've played with Fada a lot in FPL, which for those who don't know is a very high skill in-house league, where he would draft something like Undying Pugna, which they are running a lot here, and Razor, and it's just a disgusting lineup that you have a hard time going into.
It's extremely hard to deal with. And they went for SF again.
Shadow Fiend indeed.
SF on Dire for the second time.
The Lina ban's pretty scary, I think, by Cloud9, because now they don't have a solution for the Gyrocopter. I think a lot of times we see Gyrocopter lose, he just gets Lagoon in and just dies. And without that, and with Queen of Pain being kind of ignored in this first phase, they don't really have a good solution to Gyro. The Undying is a different